Hello, everyone, Randy here, and we've got a problem. And I don't think anybody spotted this in the video here, but when we did the electrical for the shop lights here, I made a small mistake, which we're going to correct here in this video here. Hopefully it won't be too bad to correct. And I'm kind of surprised nobody caught this, and I didn't catch it until we replaced the breaker panel here. For the lights here, I ran 14 gauge wire. Now you're probably thinking, well, there's nothing wrong with that. They're just lights up there. In fact, they're LED lights. They're not taking that much power. In fact, you could probably run 20 gauge wire and get away with it. But I ran 14 gauge. And you're thinking, again, what's wrong with that? There's a 20 amp breaker behind that 14 gauge wire. And if you know anything about electrical, 20 amp breakers require 12 gauge wire. So a slight mistake on my part there. Slight problem. We got to fix that. We're going to be tearing out all the 14 gauge wire I put in, which is one here. There's one that goes under here to feed the lights under the workbench, and then there's two beside the camera here for this row of shop lights here. So we got to replace four wire runs here. Again, they're not that long. This will probably be enough right here. If not, I got another roll down there. We might have to hack into there. But we're going to be replacing that here. And what I'm probably going to do, I'm just going to update you folks as I go through it here, because again, I think I probably showed this on camera doing it once, but with the wrong wire. So again, like I said, 20 amp breaker, and it did not occur to me at the time, because why do we need a 20? I suppose what I could probably do, everyone, is I could probably go real cheap and just put a 15 amp breaker in there and fix it that way. That'd probably be a way of fixing it. But there is 12 gauge wire ran everywhere else here. The white wire here is 12 gauge. And the white wire that I installed is 14 gauge, so I can't quite reach it there, but that is 14 gauge there. If you're familiar with your coloring for the wire here, I don't know when they changed it, but at some point they changed it. White is 14 gauge, yellow, this yellowish wire, is 12 gauge, and I believe the orange is now 10 gauge. Everything in this barn is white, so the 10 gauge wire is white, and the 12 gauge wire is white. I don't know why the color is that way, but that's the way it is. So anyway, we're going to replace that here. Like I said, I'm probably just going to update you as I go through it here. I'm going to pull that wire off. Shouldn't take too much here, and we'll get that done. And just to show you here before I get started, this is when I caught the problem over there. When we redid this panel here, putting in the new breakers for it. Like, oh, wait a minute here. We got a 15 amp here. That's for the lights on the other side of the pole barn here. That's just 15, interestingly enough. Also, the garage door opener is on 15 amps. But then we got a bank at 20 amps and then a couple of 30 amps 220s. But over here, storage or shop lights is on a 20 amp breaker. Again, I don't know why the electricians did it that way. It doesn't seem like that's necessary, but that is what they put in there. So I'm going to upgrade and change the wiring. So we're, as far as I know, to code, requiring 12 gauge wire for a 20 amp circuit. If we had a 15 amp circuit, by the way, we could get away with a 14. But again, 20 amp circuit, we need 12 gauge wire. Okay, everyone, after what I think has probably been about an hour's worth of work here, I got the wires all changed out here. It's now 12 gauge. Also ran a new wire underneath the bench here for the LED light strip that's underneath there. Got the plugs up top all redone. Just need to put them in yet and finish those up, tidying those up, get them all reconnected. They are all wired. Now I'm working on this conglomeration here. Of course, now that we're going to 12 gauge here, if you know anything about wiring, 12 gauge is just so much more fun to work with than 14. So yeah, I'm going to have to try to tidy this up and get this all back in this box here. I got the one switch here runs the shop lights. This one here runs the big light, and this one runs the LED lights underneath the bench here. And then I still have the other side to do yet. But we're getting close to being done here. The other side I don't think will take quite as long. It's just two wires there that run up, just straight runs, so nothing much to them. But it'll take a little bit to get them back out and changed over, of course. But we're making progress. I'm going to get this tidied up here and move on to the other side. Okay, everyone, and about another hour and a half later, I didn't think it would take that long, but this side is complete. I don't know if you can quite see them there, but there's two new yellow wires running up the pole there to the plug. Technically, I only need one of them because only one switch is in use at the moment. I do have potential plans for the second switch there, but at the moment, just the one switch here turns down the lights on this side of the workbench here. And they all plug into the 4 plugs outlets that are up there. And then of course this side is complete as well. You can probably see just one new wire that runs up there. There's actually 2 there. There's the one that is there already. So there's technically 2 wires there as well. One switch, that one there, turns on the workbench lights on that side. The upper switch there turns on the big workbench light, and then the lower switch there turns on the underneath the workbench LED light strips. Overall, didn't go too bad. Did have a little bit of a struggle here with this side. I don't know why. I went to test it. Nothing on this side worked. Not sure what I did wrong. I took it all back apart again. Couldn't find nothing wrong, so it's like, well, I must have something wrong over here then, because this set over here feeds this side. Took that side apart, couldn't find anything wrong. So yeah, put it all back together and it worked. I don't like that because I couldn't find nothing wrong. That means possibly a loose connection, I don't know. I did go through and retighten, made sure all the connections were tight. I didn't find anything that was loose. So why it didn't work, I took everything apart, put it all back together, and it worked. I don't know. Like I said, I don't like that because it means something was wrong and I didn't figure out what it was, and now it's working. But it is working. The plugs all test out like they should, you know, no reverse polarity, ground issues, or anything like that. Same thing on this side, everything's good on this side as well. No issues on this side either. Didn't have any issues at all on this side. This side was good. Well, I had one issue. I accidentally put the switch on upside down. That's just oops. Took it back out, flipped it around. That was the only thing I did wrong on this side. So, not really a problem, just had to flip it around. So anyway, there we go, folks. That's going to do it for, I think that's all the electrical for the barn project here for the time being. We might potentially add a ceiling fan here at some time. That is one thing we noted here this past winter. You know, that we got it insulated. Throw some kerosene heaters in here and throw some heat out. The place heats up quite nicely. Middle of summer here, so it heats up real nicely now. Don't have to worry about heat. But wintertime, all the heat goes up. And this is almost 14 foot. Not quite, it's like a couple inches shy of 14 foot if I remember correctly. So all that heat is up there, ceiling fan just to kind of circulate it back down. We noticed that when we had the heat on while we were doing the insulation, and just being up, you know, 6 foot, you can right away feel, oh, it's hotter up there. So we're probably gonna do that at some point, but that's not gonna involve any of the electrical here. That's probably gonna be a whole separate circuit, and we'll, you know, run the wire up and over. But first got to get a ceiling fan. I've been watching kind of the markets there, see if we can find something cheap, maybe used one, just to throw up there. Got a guy I'm in contact with, says he can usually get them for about 20 bucks. So we'll see if we can make that happen. If not, no hurry at the moment, obviously. But yeah, that's going to pretty much do it for the electrical and the barn project here at this point. Obviously, we've been working out here. The workbench is quite messy. Really, really nice having a longer workbench. That has probably been a really nice thing. Workbench. We basically doubled the size of it here, so, and then doubled the size, well, not quite double the size, added like a foot and a half to the little island that the camera is sitting next to there. But yeah, anyway, if folks have any comments or questions, be sure to leave them below, and as always, thanks for watching, and until next time.